My next guest is going to be fighting Frankie Edgar February 6th at UFC Fight Night. Of course, I'm talking to Corey Sandhagen, joining me here on the program yet again. Corey, how's it going?
Good, James. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Really great to see you get this fight. How happy were you when you put pen to paper to get this fight rescheduled?
Yeah, I mean, really excited. Yeah, I mean, it's Frankie Edgar. You know, the guy's been around for a really long time. I'm really excited for the chance to feel what it's like to fight someone with that much experience and just that much knowledge of the game, and I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, it's a fantastic matchup and a pivotal fight in the bantamweight division as well. Was this something the UFC offered to you, or did you and your management ask for Frankie? How did this come together?
I think it's the fight that maybe makes the most sense right now. I know that I asked for Edgar or Dillashaw, and Dillashaw didn't work out. I don't have any information on that, but Edgar said that he wanted to fight. I need a fight. I don't really want to play this game of like waiting around for a title shot, especially with, you know, it could go a million different ways. So if I have the chance to fight Edgar, you know, I'm going to take that opportunity.
Was there ever a thought of fighting Dominick Cruz? Because he got booked a few weeks ago against Casey Kenny. I know he's coming off a loss, but I know that was a fight you were interested in earlier this year.
Yeah, it definitely was. Honestly, no, it didn't really cross my mind. I didn't really want to, I guess, waste my breath trying to ask for that fight anymore. And I mean, Frankie's ranked really high right now. I think I'm at the 2 seed right now, so I mean, it just makes a lot of sense.
And just last thing, you kind of mentioned Dillashaw, right? I don't know, did you guys ever train together when he was in Colorado? Was there like a past history there?
Yeah, so we were together at Muscle Farm for, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 years, maybe 5 or 6 years ago or so. But yeah, we were training partners for a while there, and
but no hesitation taking that fight, obviously, because the time has passed, I'm assuming.
Yeah, time has passed, and also it's just like a hey, I think that he would have given me the best odds to get a title shot afterwards, and that's kind of the sport that we're in. You sometimes, you know, like you have to fight people that you know or your acquaintances with or your friends with or whatever, and that's just kind of the way that it is. So it wasn't anything personal or anything that I had with TJ. It was just more like a decision.
What's going to get you to the title, right?
Yeah, what's going to get me to the title, yep.
So you feel like Dillashaw would have got you to the title maybe better than Edgar would? Is that sort of what you're thinking? Just because he was the former champ? Well, I guess he never technically lost his title, right?
Yeah, that was the thinking, and I think TJ is just like a bigger name right now, to be honest. I mean, Frankie Edgar is definitely a huge name also, but I think that, you know, TJ just being the champ of the division for so long and then coming off of his suspension and stuff, I thought the timing worked out, but you know, definitely no complaints with fighting Edgar either.
Yeah, you're definitely right about TJ being the bigger name. I made the mistake on Saturday of retweeting something of his because he was obviously talking about the bantamweights who fought over the weekend and saying, you know, you got to come get my belt. And my mentions were like blowing up with people calling him a cheater and all this stuff. And I had to like mute the conversation. Seriously, like my phone was going off. So I was like, that's the last time I retweet anything of his. But yeah, I can definitely attest to that for sure. But let's talk about UFC Vegas 17. There was 2 pivotal bantamweight fights on there. The first one is a guy that you fought previously, Marlon Moraes fighting Rob Font, and Rob Font finishing him in the very first round. Were you surprised by that outcome?
Not too surprised. I don't know how much to weigh on the fact that, I mean, he came back really quick coming off of a TKO or whatever. But honestly, man, I think that Font is really that good also. You know, like I don't think that it's because he you know, there's definitely a factor there of like, yeah, maybe he came too quickly off of that fight, but you know, Font fought him exactly how he probably should have. He went after him right off of the bat, and yeah, really no surprise there. Font's really good, so that didn't surprise me too much.
Well, it was definitely a close fight in the betting odds heading in, but I don't think a lot of people expected Font to finish Marlon in the first round. Like Marlon, I don't think has been finished by TKO in the very first round. I know you finished him in the second, but was that at least surprising a bit that Rob had finished him so quickly?
Yeah, I wish that it would have happened after, you know.
Right, so you could take bragging rights, maybe like a couple minutes after you, right?
Yeah, because MMA math, you know, that's how everyone would go about talking about it. But yeah, I mean, I was a little bit surprised that it felt really one-sided. Other than kind of the takedown and the control, the striking was really one-sided, and that surprised me.
Okay. And do you think, I mean, we're just sort of playing armchair, kind of analysis here, but, what do you think's gone wrong with Marlon? Not to, obviously he fought you and you're very good. I'm not taking anything away from that, but
Sure.
he was, I think 5-1 heading in the UFC, heading into the Cejudo fight. Now he's lost 3 of 4, granted all top notch competition, but, part of the one change he did make was going to American Top Team. Do you think that's played a role in his demise, or do you think that there's other factors? Like, just as an outsider looking in, do you have any sort of take on his sort of losing streak lately?
Not really, man. Like, I could probably speculate a few things, but I don't really think that would be fair for me to, give like an opinion that I don't really know anything about. I do think that coming off of a loss like that against Cejudo, where you were that fatigued, you got kind of beat up that bad. I think that changes fighters. Like, I've seen that happen in the past, and I think that maybe if there is any causation to any of that, then that might be a factor to it, where it's kind of like, getting beat up that bad and having that kind of be your shot again to get a title, and then have to think about like working your way back to that. I think that would be a really rough road.
By the way, is your dog drinking water in the background? I just want to make sure you don't have. I just want to make sure you don't have a leak in your house either. I was just double checking.
He's a horse, man. He's a horse. This guy walks around like, I don't have an enormous place, but he's always in the way. He's always making noise.
No worries. Just wanted to clarify. I just didn't want to make sure your house is drowning from the snow or anything. So just clarifying that. And then just sort of last thing on that fight, with this win for Rob Font, does that make him a contender? I know he's now in the top 5, I believe, just before he hopped on here. But do you feel like that's the type of win that puts him in that contender spot?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know what he's ranked? What is today? Tuesday?
Today is Tuesday, December 22nd. Losing my dates here, but let's quickly check the rankings. Not going to bore our audience too much here as I'm trying to pull this up as quickly as I can.
Yeah,
I think Rob Font is ranked number 5 and you're ranked number 2.
Nice. Yeah. I think that's very, very well deserved. I think Font's good, I think he's really good. I think he's definitely a contender now, and I think it's really cool that like now we have a new fresh face. I think that's cool.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And then the other fight in the co-main event, we had Jose Aldo coming back and putting on what I consider a pretty vintage performance against Chito Vera. This is a risky fight for Aldo in the sense that, he'd come off the title loss to Petr Yan. A lot of people feeling like he took too much damage in that fight, and coming in and fighting a guy in Chito who's really tough to put away. What did you think of Aldo's performance, especially with the body shots and the striking? He looked outstanding.
Yeah, Aldo looked great. He kind of, it seems like he got it together a little bit, but although it's hard with these top guys, because I almost look at that fight as a similar scenario as like me fighting Edgar, where it's kind of, I think Vera gave Aldo a lot of respect, and I don't know how thoughtful he was about going into that fight and kind of imagining like, oh wow, I'll be standing in front of Jose Aldo, like that would, I think, if that didn't cross your mind before, and that was just something that was happening in the moment, that would be a lot to kind of deal with. And definitely I learned some things kind of watching that fight, because I think that's definitely something to take into account, is that standing in front of someone that you've been watching on TV for the last 10 years of your life, is definitely something that's going to do something to your brain. But yeah, Aldo looked great. Aldo's been fighting like top guys since I started the sport, it's kind of sad when you kind of see people talk about how these guys are falling off and this and that. It's like, man, they're like losing to guys that like
are super good. Yeah.
9 out of 10 guys would lose to, Yeah. So it's like, but yeah, Aldo looked great. I'm glad that he got a win. I've always been like an Aldo fan, and yeah.
And he called out Dillashaw next, which I think if Dillashaw's not fighting you, I think that makes the most sense. Is that what you think's going to happen?
I think so, unfortunately, because I could see that fight being, that would be a huge fight. Like it would be one that I would definitely be excited for, and they definitely have bigger names than me, and it would be kind of a bummer if both of them fought each other and then they were the next title contenders or whatever. When I feel like I've been doing really well and working really hard in order to kind of solidify that spot for myself. But like I said, I don't really dig too deep into all of that stuff. It's just more about me winning my next fight and making sure that I'm looking good and doing well.
And you let your fighting do the talking. I mean, that's sort of always been your thing, and it's worked out well for you in terms of the rankings. Just hypothetically, if that fight was to take place, who would you favor, Aldo or Dillashaw? You know, Dillashaw's got the layoff, but Aldo, obviously, you know, he's taken a bit of damage as well over the last couple fights.
I think just from a stylistic standpoint, TJ has better weapons. So I would probably go with TJ.
Okay, love it. Frankie Edgar, let's talk about him. How do you feel like you match up against him style-wise?
Yeah, I mean, hypothetically, I win all the areas, but no, Edgar's really good. Like I said, there's something about an energy to a guy that you know has been through the ringer and has played out a lot of his career. There's a different type of energy when you fight that type of person. So I'm anticipating that. I'm anticipating Edgar probably wanted to do a decent amount of wrestling, which I'm excited to show that I can actually wrestle, because my only other kind of like good grappler that I've faced, or I suppose against Yuri, but even in Yuri I was getting my ass kicked for the first couple of minutes of that fight too, was Aljamain, and I lost that one too. So I'm excited to kind of be like, hey, like, I don't suck at this. Like I'm actually pretty good at this too. So I'm excited for that challenge also. And then I think just Frankie as a tenacious fighter who's never going to quit. Like I'm really excited to face myself against someone like that, because that is like the amount of heart that guy fights with is abnormal. And I want to see how my heart stacks up against him if need be.
Did you watch his fight against Pedro Munoz yet?
Yep.
Do you think he won? Because a lot of people felt like Munoz should have got the nod in that one.
I think that I'd probably rather be Munoz the next day than I would be Frankie the next day. So I think as far as damage goes, I think Munoz did more damage, which in my opinion is the number one credential of what wins you a fight. So I think that damage-wise, because I value that the highest as far as when I'm scoring fights, I think Munoz probably won, but I definitely think Edgar was, more technical and was able to control a lot more. So yeah, it was a close fight though. You know, like that's one of those where it's like,
could go either way. Yeah, I agree with you. I hate the robbery word drives me nuts, because to me a robbery is if you don't win a single round. That's how I score it. Like, and like you go back and watch Diego Sanchez, Ross Pearson. I don't know how you could give Diego Sanchez a single round of that fight. That's a robbery. But like that fight, I mean, we just had one this weekend, Pereira and Chaos Williams. People were like, robbery. I was like, no, it's not. It's a close fight. Sometimes they give it to the one guy instead of the other. So that's
I agree with you. It's kind of interesting too, because it's like it's just this weird thing where it's like the values of like what is actually a fight, you know, like how does that get scored? Like I always refer to like Nate Diaz as one of those guys where he's like, hey man, you didn't beat me up, you hit me with like some baby low kicks or whatever he said against the one guy that he fought. But yeah, it's kind of like that, man, where it's like just what do you value? Like, what is winning a fight? Is winning a fight like standing there and trading punches, or is winning a fight like getting out of there with the least amount of damage as you can? And I think everyone's opinion about that is different, and I know that mine is too. So, it's difficult.
Training camp, how are you structuring things? We got the holidays coming up. I don't know if guys are still in the gym or what the deal is, but how are you sort of navigating through that?
Yeah, guys are still in the gym. Actually, I feel really fortunate. We have Dustin Ortiz, who just moved out here.
Oh, did he really? That's awesome.
Yeah. So he's kind of doing. He's been around and stuff, which I think is a perfect look against a guy like Edgar. So excited to have that guy out here. Dragging myself to the gym usually around like Thursday, Friday, Saturdays get a little bit tougher, but all the same. Just, doing a lot more visualization stuff, doing a lot more mental stuff, doing a lot more being present. Journaling, all of that stuff is kind of things that I've added in the last 6 months or so, which has really been helping me. So, other than that, all the same stuff. And
staying away from the gravy at Christmas time, right? I imagine, because you got to cut weight.
Yeah, it comes off a lot easier than you'd think for me, but I mean, I'm definitely not gonna be, stuffing my face on Christmas and like everyone else in the world, but that's okay.
Speaking of which, have you found out if this fight is in Abu Dhabi? Because I know for some fighters on their contract it says TBA.
I believe the fight is Vegas.
Okay. I guess on your contract, does it have a location or no?
I think it has TBA on the contract.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So not sure.
Okay, no worries.
And then I think the flights that they were having were to Vegas, but they also did that when we fought in Abu Dhabi too. So. Sure.
Interesting. Okay,
yeah.
That's good to know. What else was I going to say? Who's going to be in your corner for this fight? Do you know yet?
Yeah, Christian Allen and Carrington Banks.
Nice.
Those two. I really, that's a good corner to me. Carrington Banks has been really, really helping me a ton with wrestling. Has really big time been a huge asset, and I really get along with that guy. I consider him one of my better friends in life now, and of course Christian, who's just been, me and him have been riding this train since the very beginning. So
how's this fight playing out? You feel like you're going to get your hand raised, but I'm sure you do visualization and all that. How do you envision the fight playing out without giving away the game plan, obviously?
Yeah, I'm prepared for. I think that the advantage that a lot of grapplers have is that they get to kind of say more or less where the fight takes place if they're good enough at it, and even if they're not the greatest at it, they definitely, you lock two guys in a cage and they both know how to fight. It's not too hard to run over and grab someone. So I foresee like a lot of wrestling. I foresee a lot of grappling, which again, like I said, I'm excited for. And yeah, other than that, it's kind of just, me being myself and displaying a few of the new things that I've been able to add into my game that I haven't been able to show yet in the other fights. And but how it's going to play out is just however it needs to play out for me. Whatever I got to do, I'll do it. So.
What are the plans for the holiday season? Christmas is on Friday at the time of recording this. You got anything planned?
Nothing. Just
low
training.
Key?
Training low key. It's actually been like a tradition of mine. Usually on Thanksgiving and on Christmas and stuff, when there are holidays, I usually like to go to the track and run some sprints.
Oh, interesting. Good for you. I watch Bloodsport on Christmas Day. That's my tradition.
Nice.
I probably need some exercise though. So now you're making me feel guilty. I got to get out in the track like you. So
I've been doing that probably since I was about 17, 18 years old. Just, if I'm working on the holidays hard, I don't think other people are doing that, and it just kind of gives me a little bit more motivation.
No, a good day for me is when I get a lot of stuff done. A good day for me is not when I'm sitting on the couch and watching movies.
Oh, sure.
So I'm with you there. Totally with you there.
Yeah.
We have that in common. Corey, thanks so much for doing this, man. It's always great catching up with you. Just remind people where they can find you on social media, and if you got any sponsors or shout-outs, I'll give you the last word.
Yep. Just enter the Sandman 135 on Instagram, and just watch my fights. That's what I care about most. Just watch my fights, and that's about it.